Hello. I
Hello.
almost feel like keeping the music going, Maria, out there for us. So festive.
It is so festive, isn't it, Rena? It's such just perfect music, jingle bells tinkling in the background, and that's very good because today we're doing music. So,
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. And hello, everyone, and welcome to today's TBQ Live. Absolutely delighted once again to be with all of you. It seems to be a long time, but not too long ago. We're always here every second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And really looking forward to today's conversation. So welcome. And I'm here. This is Rina Dayal, and I have with me my co-host, Maria Chase.
hi, thank you so much, Rena. It's so lovely to be here in this festive season as people are winding down for Christmas. Um, So, as you know, we do TBQ Live every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. This year, when we launched, we've covered lots of different subjects. We've covered the fact that brain science really, really matters, but we've also linked it to lots of business applications, drawing on Rena's expertise about individuals, teams, and leaders and corporations. We have done things like how do you get fit? How do you stay fit? How do you eat well? But we've also done things like how neuroplastic, i.e., how agile and willing to change are your organizations. The last one we did was on creativity a couple of Tuesdays ago, which is
Yes.
very a brilliant segue into today's TBQ Live, which is all around the art and science of music. So I'm going to hand over to you, Rena, and you can introduce our wonderful special guest today.
Indeed, absolutely. And I'm really looking forward to everyone meeting our very special guest today, who is going to be with us in a few seconds. And thank you very much for that amazing summary. I've really enjoyed all our TBQ lives. We absolutely are going to continue to do that next year as well because we're enjoying it. And we're
Mm.
having some fabulous guests who are joining us, which is great. The key thing for us to really think is what we are hoping to achieve through this live broadcast. And of course, as a recording, in case you're watching it as a recording, is that we're raising awareness. That's the one that we really are trying to put our focus on. We believe that leadership is all about a science and an art, and we're delving into the science and bringing you some of those nuggets, which of course, Murray and I also work on a product known as the New Blueprint, but we'll talk about that right towards the end. And right now, without further ado, let me introduce to you today's topic when we are going to touch upon one of the key levers of the book, The Brilliance Quotient, which is that brain science matters. And today it's all about the Power of Music with Dominique Levak. Hi, Dom. Welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning indeed for you, and for you, a very good morning. Because tell us, where is it that you're dialing in today from?
I'm in the very sunny Dominican Republic this morning.
Absolutely. And Dom and I have known each other now for a few years, and I was absolutely delighted to know that not only does she work on personal development, but very interestingly has done music therapy, is a musician, is a songwriter, has her own albums, but also works with some very interesting applications of neuroscience in music. And we really wanted to talk about this topic because, in a lot of ways, you and I, all of us, have heard more about neuroscience because it's really come into the medical arena. And they'll be talking a lot about that's where it's really kind of come to life. You hear about cases like dementia, Alzheimer, autism. There's so many cases. So we, for a moment, wanted to step and go into the root of seeing where is it that we've seen neuroscience really give us some insights in the power of music, specifically in making big changes in how the mind can really operate. So Dom, in fact, right now you are at the DR and you are also working on a project around this. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll segue into some case studies that you worked on.
I've been working in the Dominican Republic just recently with an organization called Hip Hop Saves Lives. And we're working with children and raising awareness on humanitarian issues. This time we were working in a school called The Hive, which is in Cabrera. And it's a world school. And they were working on a program about zero hunger and to basically galvanize all the information they've been learning over the 6-week project. I was there working with my colleague Chad Harper from Hip Hop Saves Lives, and we wrote a song and recorded a video, and the kids rapped the verses in as a hip hop track,
Nice.
sort of galvanize the learning over the last 6 weeks. Do you remember in the old days, we used to watch Sesame Street and the Muppet Show? And as well
Maria
as
does,
it being
I'm sure.
I do. I totally do. Big Bird.
That's right. But what was so wonderful about that program was that actually it was all about learning. And they would have songs that would, the alphabet song, and there was lots of songs that they would bring messages into, social messages, you know, be kind to each other, look after each other, learning about maths, learning about English, all that kind of thing. And we sort of lost that a little bit over the years, I think. And so this project with Hip Hop Saves Lives sort of reaches a little bit back into that, and we try and take all the key takeaways about, in this case, zero hunger, and let the kids devise their own words and lyrics, put some melody into the chorus, and then we've got about 4 verses. So that'll be coming out. I can send you the link when that's ready. We've recently just done one in Durcal, raising awareness about children's rights, Durcal in Spain, about the same thing.
Amazing. We'd love to have that link. Definitely,
yes,
we'll have to
I'll
have that
send you
link.
that.
And I love that. So I love that story already. And I'm going to ask you 2 specific questions too before I go into the case study. So why is it for this Hip Hop Saves Life? Why has music been chosen on such an important topic like zero hunger and, of course, engaging the community? Why have you used music as the root? And what's your role in this project?
Music is like a boat. It gathers everybody up.
No.
You know, children that perhaps are at different places in their learning. Yes. Everybody has a connection to music, and people can participate in a music project, be they older and suffering from a dementia, or younger and not even being able to verbally communicate. You can hum, you can whistle, you can beat a drum. There is always something to be done within the realm of music. And so this organization, Hip Saves Lives, chooses music to be their boat, if you like. It's a musical boat. Amazing. And the words come through the learning, and there's always a humanitarian issue. But there's always something, even if a child doesn't want to participate, they'll write something. They'll write a few little lines, and we can then incorporate that into the story. So there's something for everybody. And my role in the organization, I've just joined it just recently. I write the music, I compose the music, and usually come up with the melody line for the chorus.
Nice.
And then I try and then invite the kids to participate in any way they can. And actually, in this particular song, we had a young girl who was being homeschooled, and she's traveling now. She's gone off, I think, to another country. But she came up with a whole melody line for the verses, and so she's very much part of that, and she's going to be in the video featured singing her own melody line. And she's
Brilliant.
7.
Wow. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So I love the great shades that you have already brought in. Music kind of working across levels, ages, different learning abilities, how it kind of brings people together. And most importantly, it's a vital tool for expressing oneself through the various cases that you've kind of said, because you're right. Some people might not be able to speak, but they can hum a tune. And I love it that you've even taken it onto the instrument of saying you could actually hum a drum. So there is some connection that's happening between music. And I know that we're going to talk a little bit about vibrations as well around this. So let me kind of go into some interesting case studies that you have. And I love the role that you're playing in all of this, Dom. Congratulations and well done. Really, really good. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about this. I love this video, and we're going to post all of these for the people who are listening to us. We'll post these video links on the comment box in the same place where you're seeing this recording, so that will come to you. But tell us about this, Dom. I call it the banana song because that's what they're singing, and there was so much of joy in the way that they were expressing themselves. But tell us about what music does with these people.
These fabulous young people are called the Specials. That's what they call themselves. They are a group of young people from Hove near Brighton. Nice. And I've been working with them for about 4 or 5 years, and they've got mixed abilities. 3 of them have Down syndrome, and 2 have learning disabilities. But they absolutely love music, all of them, and they want to have group sessions together. And so we were asked to perform at an art exhibition up in London.
Mm-hmm.
And so we practiced. They chose the song, the Banana Song. It's an old Harry Belafonte song from the 50s.
Indeed.
But it's got such fantastic lyrics and a very, very key melody that they absolutely loved it. So we all dressed up. They had crazy bananas. They had banana hats and all sorts. And this was a rehearsal. And they all took a turn to sing a verse, and they'd come together to sing the chorus. And you can see how engaged they all are. Absolutely focused on singing the song and doing the best they can, but having so much fun doing it in the meantime. And they're probably one of my most favorite groups of young people to work with, just because the joy that they bring to the session.
Yes.
All I do is I open the door marked music, and they flood in with their various skills and talents and joys. And I don't know who has the most fun, me or them.
That's the beauty of it, music, isn't it? It kind of combines.
Yeah.
And what a powerful story that you've shared out there. I mean, it's quite interesting because apparently there's a science. I mean, we've all been through lockdown right now, right? That's something that all of us have experienced. And I was reading up this interesting case study whereby there was live personalized music played by a violinist to people who, and this was done by the Northwestern University, and they were actually trying to see whether it helps people reduce their stress levels. And they were playing personalized music, and it was astounding, the results. And they've called it almost a psychological first aid music, where they've talked about that the sense of pleasure actually increases by more than 90% when people are listening to music. Stress levels and anxiety level drops over 90% as well. And actually the emotional state of well-being goes up in the 90s as well, the percentages. So it's immense power of music.
I'm sure that Maria would be able to give us the science on that, but certainly we were told, and when we studied, that music reaches all parts of the brain. There is no other medium that manages to touch all parts of the brain. So you're literally firing off in all those areas: cognitive, well-being, the dopamine hormones, the feel-good hormones. I'm sure that Maria could probably be more specific on that, but it really is. It's like the Guinness. It reaches parts other beers can't reach. It's musical liquid magic.
Or for some people, the cases might be water, might not be Guinness, which has the same result.
Yes.
But we get the point, absolutely. And you're right. I know Maria's got some really interesting information to share with everybody on the real science of what's happening when we're talking about these different things that is visible, but what's happening behind the curtain, so as to speak, is where the power kind of comes in. So tell us a little bit more about the next 2 case studies, and then we'll like to give Maria some time to explain it, because we really want to discuss a bit about the impact that music is having right now in some very extreme cases. So this was the other case that you were sharing about the dementia care home. I love them, and they were getting into a nice little rhythm of dancing and adding to the music. So tell us why with care homes have you all done this work, and what was the result and outcome?
Well, the UK government have recently been raising awareness on the impact of music within dementia. We've known this for a long time, and there's now fantastic organisations that are promoting the value of music within dementia specifically, because of course dementia affects the brain, and parts of the brain die, and then the connectivity, we lose the connectivity. But music reaches into that part of the brain and reaches back into time. And if you play songs that people used to sing or knew when they were younger, particularly in their early adult and childhood lives, these songs stay like the black box of an aeroplane. They stay in the mind. And if you then sing these songs or even play them, you can see people that are potentially dullified and not in a responsive manner, not able to communicate, sometimes not even able to speak. You see them open up, their heads lift up, and they often start singing. In that particular case study, there was a lady, we'll call her Mary, and she wasn't really able to make conversation. She was able to speak, but it didn't really make sense. But I played Molly Malone, which is a very old-fashioned Irish folk song that most people know over the age of 70. And you can see in the video that she starts to sing the song with me. Wow. And then part of the rest of it, it's a group work. Slowly, 2 or 3 people then start to get involved. A lady suddenly stands up and starts to dance. I've got a lady at the back playing the cymbal on a stick and another lady playing a shaker, and they all start to participate. It turns into a little party, doesn't it? They all start to participate in the song. And it's just the keys. These songs, and that's why songs are just so important. They are like musical keys that open up and reach into people's minds. And the feeling, you can see it. They're smiling. Their bodies open up. They're walking. It's
absolutely
singing, dancing. It's so fantastic to see where perhaps half an hour earlier they may have been shut down and not able to communicate, not feel the human connection. Suddenly, with the opening up of these songs and the effects it has in the brain, these people are connecting with each other. They're connecting with me, but not just me. They connect with each other, and they then also connect with themselves.
And that's the beauty, isn't it? Because you're connecting back with yourself, with your memories, and and as they say, when the brain is kind of remembering something, it really sometimes just feels it's happening at that moment. So it really doesn't distinguish by way of the chemical signals it sends out. So you actually enjoy the moment and you get back into who you were when you were at that age, when you were listening to that music. And you're right,
exactly.
It's astounding to see people because they're all sitting down and the music starts playing. And I love that analogy that you'd used when you were sharing with Maria and I last time when we spoke, is like a flower, that kind of literally raises its into the sun. That's
yes,
such an impactful way. So it's quite amazing to see what music does and how it impacts the biochemistry, and it really begins with the brain. So thank you so much for that case study. And there's another lovely one that's coming up that I'd like you to briefly touch upon and tell us what's in the whole world of this seems to be a case of autism, and we do know that music is used a lot in neurodiverse per se, and really being able to enhance the special skills, I would call, that people have who are on the neurodiverse spectrum. But tell us about this case study, Dom. What really was the change that one witnessed with this particular individual, if you would like to share that with us?
This is a young man, Ollie, that I was working with for about 5 years from a music college in Brighton that he went to, and then I worked with him privately throughout his college, and then after he left college. And he is echolaic, so he isn't able to make conversation, but he is able to respond to what has been said to him in terms of he'll copy what has been said. However, I discovered quite early on that in a musical environment, if I'm playing the piano, he is able to then sing with his own words and express himself. And that was really quite something.
Wow.
He was a drummer as well. He was a drummer as well because he's quite rhythmical, as you can see. But when we discovered that he was actually able to sing his feelings, that was very, very exciting. But this particular clip is where I gave him a harmonica, and he plays it like a blues player. I've never, as it goes on, each verse gets better and better, and he'd give B.B. King a run for his money there.
Indeed. And I quite like the way, because what he does is, or all he does, and thank you so much for introducing him to us and our guests. Ollie, he kind of leans in and listens into the music a bit, and then he kind of picks it up and starts playing. And I was like, wow, he's really jamming in the moment. So clearly, we are seeing some really, and I'm sure for all of us, the stories are inspirational in itself, and such a great celebration in today's day and age, because we've all had tough times, and this is the festive season, so it's a great topic to be talking about as well. But I'd love us to.
There's always a way through. That's the thing. Certainly with people with autism,
Yes.
I found that they have very specific high level gifts.
Definitely, absolutely. In fact, there's a lot of work. There's some work that I've done actually about bringing neurodiversity into the boardroom, because really it's being able, because many times some leaders who are at a very highly functional might be on the neurodiverse spectrum, or
Yes.
might operate at times at a neurodiverse spectrum, which might feel a little bit of a behavior. And it's really being able to learn how to work with them, because they need that space. But the beauty and diversity that they can bring into strategic business issues can be immense. So there's a lot of work that's
Absolutely.
taking place about not just using neurodiverse people in the workplace for technical jobs, because they are technically quite sound in it, but also in some of these strategic aspects. So it's really being able to harness it, and clearly music can allow us to do that. So I'm really excited about it. Maria, can I invite you to talk a little bit about the science, because we're talking about some amazing case studies out here, and tell us what really happens in the brain. Let's break that up a little bit, and we'll probably build on that one. So over to you. Here's an
Brilliant.
interesting video.
Thank you. As you can see on this dynamic slide, music, sound, is a vibrational wave. Now, we feel that in many, many different parts of our body. And if you think about the brain, it was developed to make us move. So rather than going through the senses, which it does, obviously, but it also hits the brain in a slightly different way than anything else, which is it hits the base of our brain. It hits the brain stem. That is the most primal part of us. And the brain has a backward hierarchy. It's the place where actually the brain pays the first attention to, because that's where we fight, flight, or freeze. So actually music fills us with the vibrations that actually make us feel better. And the reason that we begin to start to feel better when we feel music is it vibrates all of our cells. It's energetic. So when Dom's talking about the blooming of older people, that's because their entire system it's almost like a reboot. If we go on to the next slide, I can start waxing lyrical just at the phenomenal power of music. Like Dom said, it lights up most of the brain. It doesn't do all of the brain, but it does more than anything else that we see. So what it means is there is a huge amount of bioelectrical chemistry happening and energy vibrating through our brain, which instantly energizes us because energy is flowing through our system. It also, interestingly, accesses the subconscious and the conscious. And actually, as I've said before in TBQ Live, we're 90% subconscious. I don't know what my pancreas is doing. I don't need to know. So the conscious mind is a very small part of us. That's where we do the thinking. That's where we do the working out issues. That's also why music really, really works well with people who might have learning difficulties, because this part might not be wired quite well, but the rest of the brain's wired beautifully. So therefore, and you talked about neurodiversity, who's to say what's the right wiring and what's the wrong wiring? We're all wired differently. So in real terms, the fact that music can access both our subconscious and our consciousness means that it resonates with people who consciously might not be able to connect.
Yeah.
You know, when you were talking about the group with the Down syndrome, in this part of their mind, they may not come across as very, very functioning. If you know, so it's a difficult area to talk to, if you know what I mean. However, the minute that music happens, all of their brains lighting up, and suddenly you're seeing the whole person. And I believe that the brain's in, we know their brain's in the heart. We know the brain's in our gut. We have brain in our skin. I'm beginning to believe that we're walking brains. So that vibrational energy that's given to us by music is amazing. And it activates our emotions and our feelings, which is the first thing that tells the brain what to do. We may think about it afterwards, but it's our emotions and feelings the brain's taking notice of to keep us alive, to stop us from fight, flight, or freezing. And the next point there is we may scan for danger 15 times a second, but we're also scanning for reward. And the great thing about music is it's perceived as a reward because of the connectivity, because the fact that we actually get social connection. You were talking about the dementia group. They were separate individuals until music happened. And then the mirror neurons, and I haven't written it there, and I realized the gap. The mirror neurons light up, and then suddenly everyone is starting to connect. And we are social beings. That's why we're finding lockdown quite so tricky.
So hold that one. You've introduced the thing about mirror neurons, and I know that we've done an entire episode on it. For the people who are listening right now, it's an interesting insight as well. Tell us what are mirror neurons, and what did you say that it does with music?
Okay, so mirror neurons were discovered by a whole bunch of brain scientists just accidentally noticing that during their lunch break, when they were looking at macaque monkeys and studying their brains, that actually they mirrored what the one of the neuroscientists reached for an apple, grabbed hold of the apple, and suddenly all of the macaque monkeys' neural pathways for reaching for an apple lit up. It's what sends a yawn around the room. It's why we wince when someone else stubs their toe, because we know what that feels like. They're the neurons that actually allow us to empathize with each other. They're the neurons that allow us to put ourselves in other people's shoes. They're also an energetic connection. Thoughts actually have an energy frequency. Yeah, they even have a little bit of mass. So therefore, when we are thinking and other people are thinking what we're thinking, we start to really connect on an energetic level.
Absolutely.
And that's why music connects us. What Dominique said about it being a boat is because it draws everyone in. It's like, come, it doesn't matter what you are, who you are, what you look like. We all feel the music. Yeah?
Thanks. Brilliant.
So
Yeah.
the biochemistry, we know dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, it releases because it hits the brainstem and all the brilliance that does. It releases all the feel-good hormones, which then rebalance. That's why it's a stress relief, because it actually decreases the adrenaline and cortisol, which are the fight, flight, or freeze hormones, and it replaces those with the great hormones. Oxytocin is a huge one. It's the connection.
It's the trust one, isn't it? So it kind of really adds on to it. In fact, that goes on nicely with that point that you have about reward and threat as well. Because it's such a reward symbol, it gets all of those lovely energies flowing in your body, which makes you trust people more, connect with people more, bond with people more, and so on and so forth, or be more creative, I suppose.
Exactly. Brilliant. And that's why it's so important to let's move some of this into the boardroom for that trust and that peak performance, because the more we trust our members of the team, the more we're going to produce really, really well.
Tell me a little bit more about the increases. I'm very conscious of time as well. So are you going to go into the next favorite topic of mine, which is neuroplasticity and neurogenesis by any chance?
I am. I'm going to go there because neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change its architecture, what it also does, music is the best workout for the mind. It increases conductivity. It increases myelination, which is the fabric that allows nerve signals to go even more quickly. That's why it works so well with dementia, and why if you've got someone with dementia, if they've been exposed to music and really got involved, that has a lasting effect. And that's because the brain is now had a workout. It's the best workout you can do for the brain is music, especially if you move your body. Neurogenesis, we have realized recently, actually we can produce new brain cells. The fact that they die, some die, but actually we can produce them. And it's interesting The hippocampus is where we make new brain cells. That's where memory is formed. So when we're talking about reactivating people's memory, the memory engrams, which is why music suddenly lights someone up, because those old neural pathways are now lighting up. All of that is then in a part activating the neurogenesis, the growth of new neurons, which is absolutely amazing. The last one I want to talk about, hypofrontality. It turns our thinking part down. It reduces the blood flow to our thinking part, which can be the self-reflection and it can be the critical self-reflection. It puts us in the moment. That's why music is so incredibly good for mindfulness, because once you are in that moment and you are feeling all of the music through your entire body, what you're not doing is using your default network to be going, what am I having for tea? Oh, I didn't do that well. So that's why music increases peak performance. Last thing, it violates our expectations. If you hear, I mean, you'll know more about this than I will, Dominique. It takes us to a place and then it drops us without us expecting it. That totally surprises the brain. The brain adores novelty. And that's one of the reasons it continues to engage us with all of the rhythms. That's why music should be much, much more central in all of our lives, especially in the festive season. I'm going to hand over to you. We have a time crunch always because we could go on for days. So you tell us how we can use this in business, Rena. Now we've talked about the brain science.
No, this is absolutely great. And I think so business and life right now is kind of interwoven with each other. But I just want to pull out a couple of interesting points that you just made them. I mean, everything that you shared, Maria, makes so much of sense for people to really start recognizing what's really is happening in there. And I think so that's one of the beautiful things that we've found about neuroscience is that the more you get to understand what's happening in there, the more joyful your life can turn out to be. And it's really it's understanding the science behind it, because well, we are intelligent beings, so we like knowledge. Knowledge is power, and when you apply it, it becomes so much powerful. And we've seen some superb applications today. And I know that there's a lot of work that you've done also in music therapy as such, Dom, right now. So I'd love you to be able to maybe pull out a couple of thoughts on what Maria has shared right now. And while she was kind of just going through that, I just wanted to underline two interesting research bits that I'd figured out that plays exactly to the point that Maria was raising around plasticity as well as memory. So you're in the Toronto University. I'm just trying to figure it out where, I think it was Toronto University. And they actually figured out in early Alzheimer's, what was really happening is that when you repeatedly listen to some meaningful music time and again, it does create brain plasticity. So this is researched out there. So the neurogenesis bit that Maria was talking about, there's absolutely interesting evidence that's showing about how it helps regrow the brain for that matter. And that's quite exciting. And also there was this interesting thing about memory that both of you all have been talking about. And you said about how it switches off, the frontal cortex. And this was a research that was done in the Georgia University, who actually said that when people were trying to improvise, when you're improvising, live improvising of music, or even when you're trying to remember and improvise music and then and work on it, it cuts off your neural function, which is the executive. It weakens the connection there. So you can be more in the flow, as they say, the creative flow when improvisers are. So it's quite interesting, the power of the brain and what really it does to it. So Dom, any insights that you have from your world of music therapy or listening to Maria and I guess our discussions?
Fascinating, Maria. Thank you so much. It makes complete sense. I see it on the front line, but then listening to you with the science behind it, it connects the two so beautifully. I could spend all day listening to you talking. I would say the festive season is upon us. The most wonderful thing to do to connect your team, your office, would be to sing.
Yeah.
To sing Christmas carols. Again,
Yes.
Everybody knows Christmas carols. Why? Because we've sung them since we were children. And we know them. Whether we know the words or not, we know the melody. And if you get a group of people that work together and you sing Silent Night or Oh Come All Ye Faithful or even Santa Baby with the lyrics, you watch how that builds a response as a team. Everybody will be laughing and joking. They will be talking about it for days afterwards. It's one of the most beautiful things you can do together, singing. And now's the perfect time.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Actually, every time is a great time. Some of my friends who might not be very musical yet love to sing can find any moment to sing a tune and kind of get people to join in. Absolutely. And for the festive season, such a great point that you made out there, Dom, as well.
And
Mari, I know this was another. Sorry, go for it.
one of the things that I think is so powerful about once we know about how the brain functions, music is very natural to us because we are rhythmic animals as well. We have a circadian rhythm. The world is very rhythmic. The oldest musical instrument, 40,000 years old. So just to go on to this slide, for those people who are watching live, you can rewatch the recording and grab hold of all the other brilliant things that music does. It makes you sleep better. It makes you feel better. We could go on for days and days and days. The last thing I want to say, music that you're happy to be sad to, prolactin. Prolactin is a hormone that gets us ready to be okay with grieving. And we all have to do that as well. It gets us okay to be sad. So when you've got a song that you're happy to be sad to, you're actually building your immune system. I will stop and let you go to application and business, Rena, because all of us could speak for days and we haven't got days.
No, but this is an important slide to just pause on. So thank you for that, because this is really kind of showcasing right across, and people will see right from workout to sleep to, of course, some of the more intense cases like stroke patients and some of the cases we've discussed today. There's such a variety that's taking place. And I guess when you're talking about application to business, there can be so many reasons. And I'm just going to open up the conversation for yourselves and your own reflections, and also in the minds of people who might be in and discussing it with other people as well. But how can we bring music in? Like Dom said, get them singing a festive Christmas carol. That's one of the best ways to do that, isn't it? But to really kind of start thinking about it in a broader sense, because this conversation is really helping us understand the power of music and what it can do to all our lives on an individual basis. But really, the question for us to think about is that what more could we do when we know this information, so that we can lead ourselves, our teams, and our businesses to greater success, to be able to achieve our purpose. And here are some really practical to really macro conversations that I'm going to invite Maria and Dom to also add on to some of their ideas that they might have in mind. But here is really from practical to big. Is one is to start thinking about how can you give your mind some space to be quiet, because we live in a busy world, and sometimes music allows you to give you that transition point of getting out from a busy life into just getting into a different space, which might take you into a quiet zone. Because the more you are busy, the fact is that we need more recovery zone, and music is something which is dynamite and really helps acceleration, and a lot of work that we do on leadership acceleration. But how can you move faster, quicker, smarter with your group of people? And one of the ways might be giving yourself quiet time and listening to some music, that joyful tune that you really kind of bring joy to other people. Maybe that's the thing that you want to do, just have that pleasurable experience. We've heard about science today about how it works out. Why not treat ourselves? Why not sing a tune? Why not bring that joy and work together, sing that Christmas carol together? But also to start thinking, because one of the other interesting conversations that we had with Dom as well is, what is the signal to us when we start thinking about how is the music industry going to evolve, and how is it evolving? What applications can we bring it, so that it not only brings commercial value, and also that it gives people an expression to express themselves, but also for listeners to be able to take it more deeper into their work life, into their personal lives, so that it can really bring the kind of energy we require at this moment of time, because it is an unpredictable area. So what is it that you think you might be able to do? Is there a business opportunity that you think you might be able to go on? And I know Dom has got some views on that as well, and she might bring that up. Or also about how might you use music to engage your customers, because if that's what engages them, what might be the way? These are the kind of questions that we'd really like you to reframe and really try to think about what might be the opportunity for you to be able to lead yourself, your teams, and businesses with far greater success and joy per se. Thoughts, Maria and Dom, add on? Where else do you think it might be coming in? And Dom, would love to know your insight on the music industry as well.
I'll start by saying the other places we can bring it in. A lot of people will spend time in their car singing. Have you noticed when you stop at traffic lights and you turn it and someone's just singing? That expression, the more we release emotions, the more we become aware of them, the more intelligent we become, emotionally intelligent, and the more emotionally agile we become. And in times that are tricky, emotional agility, I would suggest, is one of the most powerful and key strengths for leading ourselves, our teams, and other people. I have and share some of the opinions that I think that Dom would love to share on the music industry. So I'm going to hand over to you now, Dom, on that small but important point.
Very important indeed. Emotional bandwidth. That's what we're talking about.
Uh,
Building the capacity that we require. This is really increasing the capacity to be able to do more. So well pointed out, Maria. Nice one. Dom?
The, the value of music is understood more and more, but unfortunately, the music business, I think, have been in the game of devaluing music over the last few years since the introduction of streaming. Nobody really understood the value or the importance or how it was going, what streaming was. If you talked about streaming 10 years ago, everyone thought you talked about something to do with fishing. It's a very different ball game now. And
Yes.
unfortunately, with the digital streaming platforms, the DSPs, and the record labels did deals behind closed doors, probably about 8 or 9 years ago, where they devalued the monetary value of streaming, so that actually now songwriters get paid 0.05 pence on a stream, which means that the actual writers and the creators are now facing the biggest crisis in their industry that has ever been. They can't afford to create the music anymore because most people listen to music on streaming platforms. 1 million streams will earn you $2,000. That's not enough to pay your rent or put a roof over your head or feed your family. There are now, the Ivors particularly have introduced a program with Tom Gray, fixed streaming and broken record, and they're now in Parliament. Tom has managed to get this movement far down the line that Parliament are now questioning the finances and the model around streaming, and it will have to change. Otherwise, we will not have new music, and particularly songs, because we all know, as a result of our own evaluations and this conversation today, that songs are gold. Songs are the key to a better life, to reaching into connecting. They are the backdrop of our lives. We can time travel with songs. They are so valuable, and they have now become devalued for big business, big corporations, and big tech. And this is something we need to be aware of. And fixed streaming and broken record are programs you can get behind to raise awareness, because we cannot afford for that industry to be taken over by the greedy clever ones.
Yeah.
And that's
We can't.
always absolutely, and such a fair point, because that's always the struggle in not just the music industry, in practically every business that we see right now, is the whole thing about profit over purpose, and constantly
Yeah.
the question that we have been happening in all sustainability and all the work that we do with leaders right now is, how can you really get the profit agenda going, but also keep the purpose really hard and fast and center and core to the business. And that's really important. And I think so, for the work that we do, it's like going back of saying, who is going to make that change? It's going to be the people. And the
Yeah.
people are going to make that change when they're far more aware of who they are and how they think and how they react and make decisions. And which is why it becomes really vitally important for people to really think about what is it that they dream, to really nurture and regulate and unleash their brain and the entire intelligence that they have. And we're seeing today some really great examples of music and how it can make a difference. And while it brings in so much joy and change in people, but what is it that we can do about changing the music industry? This has been such a great conversation, right from inspirational to more strategic. And I love that conversation with both you, Maria, as well. Dom, brilliant. Um, we're going to kind of now start wrapping up, because it is time to wrap up. As Maria was saying, we can continue to speak with you for a really long time. But it's been an absolute delight and joy. We're going to be back on the fourth Tuesday of this month, as ever, on the 28th of December, 12:30 London time. And we're going to be talking about neuroscience and new resolutions. And Maria, you're going to take a stake on this one. So tell us a little bit more about this before we wrap up for today.
So we all have the absolute urge. It's a new year. We want to do New Year's resolutions. 3 weeks into January, we kind of have done a job on ourselves, and we've set ourselves up to fail. So what we have is the recipe for New Year's resolutions that stick, or just don't make them, but have fun over the festive season. And it will be lovely to see everyone after we've all eaten far too much and really enjoyed the winter light festival, which is what this is all about.
Indeed, it is. Thank you so much for being with me today, Dom. It's absolutely been a pleasure. Maria and I have enjoyed your company, and I'm sure the
Thank
listeners have
you.
got a lot of value. Maria, as ever, great to see you here. And
Thank
for
you.
everyone out there, wish you a great festive season. Thanks, Dom. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Merry Christmas.